All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Michael Dean. You're watching the Prince Podcast. And before we continue, please subscribe. Hit the subscribe button down below and check us out on Patreon. Patreon.com/podcastjuice. All right, with that, let's work it like a job. Peace. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Prince Podcast here on podcastjuice.net. My name is Michael Dean, and we got a real one today. I want to say we got a special guest, but we have a real one today as well, Mr. Chazz Smith. Sir, how are you?
I'm doing well, brother. Yes, sir. Nice introduction. I love it.
and for those who don't know, I can give a little bit of history, but here, Chazz is cousin of Prince. One of the original members of Grand Central Station. I'm saying that correctly. And if
no, it actually, let me stop you. It's Grand Central, and I'm the original, Prince's original first drummer.
The first
drummer. Okay. But his first drummer he ever had. Our band was just me and Prince at first. We went around in talent shows when I was 7 and Prince was 5 years old. We're going around doing talent shows, playing The Man from U.N.C.L.E. on Prince on the piano, and me on the drums.
Wow.
And so we were knocking out people playing before Andre even came in the mix. It was just me and Prince.
Okay, so I'm glad you.
Brag because yeah.
No, I'm glad you set that set me on straight on that. And can you just?
Yeah, me and Prince were the first ones.
Okay, so you're the original.
I'm gonna just tell you how original that my great aunt, which is his aunt, great aunt, and his great aunt is my grandmother and his grandmother are sisters. So my grandmother, we would all go over to Prince's aunt's house, his grandmother's house, to have Thanksgiving. I hope I'm saying that right. So people go like, "How are you related?" And I go like, "Our grandmothers are sisters."
There you
go. So if that makes any sense. But so his grandmother was my great aunt, my grandmother was his great aunt. So I think that clears it up.
Okay.
And we would go over to my Aunt Mary's house, and we would all meet over there because that was my grandma's and Prince's grandmother's sister too, my Aunt Mary. So we're all at her house. And when I first meet Prince and stuff, my Aunt Mary had an old organ in the corner. And me and Prince, before I even got a chance to even say anything, and he even said anything to me, we both were looking at that organ and trying to get to it.
Wow.
So that's how it all started. And he snuck his little way over there, and I snuck my way over after we were looking each other up and down, trying to figure each other out. And because I'd just lost my mother to an anesthesiologist accident out in Los Angeles. So we just came home fresh off that. And we'd spend the Thanksgiving and Christmas, we'd always meet at my Aunt Mary's house. So that's when me and Prince checked each other out. We had been around each other as babies and kids because I have later found pictures of how far we go back. So I would say I'm probably, with exemption of the Taika and everyone and the immediate family, I'm probably the first cat. That, really Prince and I just rolled together. And I mean, when his sister did Prince's eulogy at the memorial after he passed, she talked about me, the influence that I had no idea.
Oh, wow.
That Prince looked up to me. The preacher who was giving the eulogy about Prince started talking about Little Charles. And that's what they called me back in the day because my dad's Big Charles and I was Little Charles. So,
wow.
When he broke that down, I didn't know what to think because Prince never said anything. I never knew he paid attention to me to do so. There's 3 things that Little Charles got Prince into, and Prince was influenced by. He said, drums, basketball, and women. And I said, everybody in the place started looking around. I was going like, I had no idea. And my cousins and everybody are staring at me going, they know we rolled together, but I never knew I had that kind of influence on him. And my falsetto singing, and it was just really special to me to actually hear this genius say that, because I knew he was the bomb back then. I know people don't want to believe it. They're probably going, "Oh man, you didn't know that." I was going, couldn't predict that kind of success because that was out of the atmosphere to us. We just wanted to be as good as the Jackson 5. We wanted to challenge them, looks wise, everything in music. So I couldn't have believed that. I said, "Oh yeah, we can get them." because we knew they had the show on TV on Saturday where they were playing hoops on the court. We wanted that. And we knew we could outball them because, Prince had a reputation of being a baller. Well, he got it from us.
Well, let me ask you. Let me ask
ahead.
you a question based off of that, just so you can go deeper. And this is illustrating this for, maybe some of the younger listeners that wasn't around back then. You hear Michael Jackson and Jackson's, but talk to me about how big that was for you. Because I remember Jackson was a huge deal, but can you illustrate how that affected you guys?
Oh, man. Well, when we heard I Want You Back was the first single that we always listen to anything that we could get our hands on. So when I Want You Back came out, we actually thought it was a girl singing. And when we checked it out, and it was the Jackson 5, we were blown completely away. They played their own instruments. They had a cousin that played the drums in the band. I mean, we immediately were always researching when we'd see something. We go like, how did that happen? Who's in the group? How did they pick the members and everything? So we were intrigued by them. And then plus they had their own TV show. They played, like I said, they played their own instruments. They sang and played, and we could do that. So, that's what we dug. They had a huge impact on the way we felt, and older artists as well. But when the Jackson 5 came out, Jermaine was my age, and a couple of our members of the band were the same age as Mike and Marlon. And if we tried to have it, we wanted that we had froze like them. We wanted that they influenced us big time. Plus, they were classy looking, and they were freaks. They were free, and that's what we were trying to do. We didn't want to be just some regular group ever. We wanted to be just what we wanted to be, and we seen them doing that. They had the cool clothes, the hip cars, everything was dope. We loved it.
Wow,
big influence.
All right, listen, we're gonna get into the history of things, because that's a huge component, and it's history and it's educational, but I'm going to keep this all the way real and honest. And I've been saying this all morning because you sent me a couple of clips to look at, which I had seen them before, but I watched them again. And it was like the headline news program, I believe. Yeah. And then also a clip from CBS with yourself and Kirk Johnson. And let me say this before we get into this conversation, because I know people are going to be listening. I always say this to myself: you have to. So you see, there is so much energy about the tributes and museums and all of this celebratory stuff, which I think is great. You have to have that, but you also have to have the same energy when it comes to getting to the bottom of why we're having these celebrations and tributes, because it was one thing for people to stand next to you when it's going good and everyone's breaking bread and, all of that good stuff. But you also have to have that same energy when, hey, what happened to Prince? What's the truth? Now, let me also state this, and I'm going to shut up. I'm not family. I'm an outsider. I'm a fan. Some may call me a journalist. But what I am is I would respect that, hey, this is a family conversation, and family would get the answers, not necessarily us as fans. But I will say, as a fan and as a person who thinks that Prince's legacy is important, what he means to people is important, and the lessons that we can learn from everything can help the next man or woman in their life. So,
oh man, I love that, man. That's what it's all about. Yeah.
So one of the main things that have you here, because I know you have the associated with the hashtag Justice for Cuz.
Oh yeah,
and that whole movement, and that's an important part of the conversation that may not necessarily, in my opinion, is not getting the spotlight as much as all the other stuff. And I can understand why, because it's not a comfortable conversation, but it must happen. It's just as important, if not more important, than the music rights and all of that other conversation, right? We need to know what happened to this man.
Yes, man. Yes, sir, man. Oh, you're hitting it real. You're on the real on this one.
So with that said, man, from your perspective, you are family. So have they, and we can start here, and I'm going to let you sort of walk us through, but have you, the family, gotten some answers to what happened to Prince?
Well, there's some things that I can, because it's still an open
Sure.
investigation. So obviously when we were here and he passed, I got calls immediately, and they said it was a death investigation. So immediately, I'm just trying to clear this up for sure. I didn't think anything else but what happened to him. Something happened that wasn't cool. When that plane, he's supposed to have died on the plane. And of course, my phone blew up and everybody was talking about it. And some people were saying things and some people were not. But I immediately knew there was some type of bad energy that there shouldn't have been there, and I took it from there. I didn't get into the the celebration part of it. I really didn't. I was deeply affected by it, and I can't explain to you. I didn't want anything. I wasn't an heir. I didn't want to be an heir. I knew that I was his real cousin. I know a lot of people are fronting that they had so much to do with him, as a paid employee or so on. I ain't knocking anybody. And this by no means I'm trying to cut anybody down or anything like that. This is just my opinion. And a lot of my family, they all felt like me, but they didn't have I would just say some of us are built to stand up and say things, and that's cool. And then there's some of us that have to sit back and, watch the person that they feel can do it. And so my family felt the same way. I have other cousins and stuff. They were all absolutely giving their opinion of what they thought happened to them. Now, as far as answers, it's still open, but I'm going to tell you this, for this whole year, I have gotten so much information from people that either played with them, worked with them, had anything to do with them, from the smallest to the biggest, to the fan, to journalists that I spoke to on a huge high level, to actually people that were bodyguards that were from the Nation of Islam for Prince. And they were telling me things. I've learned so much, man. I can't even tell you that. I don't know if I've had time to really kind of, what you call mourning. My mother died when I was 7. So my perspective on life and death is, and I know a lot of people lose people, but for a 7-year-old to kind of lose their mom like that
that's heavy.
It was really heavy for me. So I looked at it like, there's more to it than what we're actually seeing and hearing. But like I was saying, not to veer off, all the information I was getting was confirming what I was thinking. But talking to the sheriffs, and I'm connected with them. They give me information as it comes in, so I do know. I can't talk about it. But like I said, the investigation is still open, and they think something wasn't cool. So I leave it like that.
All right. Again, just to have an honest conversation, that this is stuff that's out there. You sent me the clip from the CBS News, and all of us fans seen that. And I'm not.
Yes,
let's
sir.
To be clear,
I wanted them to.
I'm not shitting on nobody. I have respect for every man, but I want to know what you thought. You were a part of that clip. What did you think of some of those direct sort of questions that the reporter had for Kirk Johnson? What was your opinion?
I'll let you know exactly how that actually. I was just actually that journalist worked. My daughter worked for this CBS local here as she was working at the front desk, and she got a friendship with that journalist that did the report. They remained friends, and when Prince passed, she reached out to my daughter, kind of like, here's a connect I got. I can actually find out from family what really is going down. Mm-hmm. Her name is Jamie Jamie Lucas. She'll kill me if I get that wrong. Jamie had already interviewed me right after Prince passed. She was working in New York. She came here and sat up and got my emotions and everything, captured everything. We talked behind the scene about what we thought had happened to him. Mm-hmm. So she captured that. And they were going to do a show on just that, on what I was speaking about then. But all of a sudden, all that stuff happened with Trump, and they had to take their focus somewhere else. But she kept it and said wherever she figured she could probably put it, or when they were going to they would be able to show the program with the interview with me and her. she would let me know. So all of a sudden, my wife and I, we look up and we see the CBS. She's working. She's got, she was here locally, but then in the time between us speaking and Prince passing, she got a job, a big time job, got put out in New York. So she said, "I'm getting ready to interview Kurt Johnson," and I said, "Wow, that's tripping to me." So she's the one that put me in there because she believed what I thought, because I told you we had spoken. And I didn't know I was going to I didn't know she was going to do it like that, where Kurt would be, and I had no idea Kurt was going to act like that. So, but she was trying to bring out what I really believe. She was kind of trying to do the family a favor by kind of giving us a view. Because there are some people that still, I wasn't trying to blame anybody. Don't let me get this completely straight out here. I wasn't blaming Kurt. Wasn't saying anything about him, and that's not why she put that together with Kurt, because he's the one that started talking. But I can't tell you how many people think that there's something up with him. So it is what it is. So I'm just keeping it 1,000.
Sure.
I mean, so she did that to kind of, weed him out, because he probably didn't think. Because then all of a sudden people started coming at me from his camp. I knew it was his camp. People were saying all kinds of little negative things. And I was going, is that all y'all got? I let that stuff bounce off me. So
have you had a chance, or family members that you're in contact had a chance to actually speak to him? And let me put this. It's a shame that I have to say all this, but I have to say it because people will run with it.
Oh man, speak the truth.
Listen, if something happened to your family or friends, and you know that they mans or whoever, somebody was there, and that's, y'all know who they are, they're cool with the family, and something happened to your family members, general principle, you're going to go holler at, hey man, tell me what happened? What happened?
Yeah,
what happened? You know what I'm saying? We got to get at you. If there isn't a conversation, it can go all sort of different ways. That is what it is.
Exactly. So I see where you're going with this.
Right. So I'm just trying to understand, does the family had a chance to holler at him and say, man, leave the cameras.
What's to me, my brother, you want to know what's really, what blows me completely away? Not only family, but I'm freaked out at the fact that band members, former band members, and like I said, I've spoken to a whole lot of band members that are really feeling the way that I'm feeling about it, that there's something that really went really wrong with all of those people that were around Prince. And I'm just going to cut it exactly like it is. I know it's an uncomfortable situation. Some of my family's still around him. So, and I've had to walk up in Paisley Park for things that were done for Grand Central. I had to walk in there and be in his view. He's never come up and said anything to me, which is interesting. Like all I know is I will come up, and like I said, I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but if me and the brother's cool, I'm gonna walk up to him and go, whatever reason, I'm gonna go like, yo man, I'm sorry for your loss, blah, 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 blah. Cause everybody knew he was my cousin since day one. I've never hidden that. So, you know me, Kirk, you could have came up and said, show some love, because everybody else in the joint was coming up and showing me some love. So I was going like, dude, I ain't gonna bang on you about it here, but you really are completing suspicions that I have. But like I said, other family members and close friends and musicians that I know should know better are rolling with them, and I don't understand it, to me. And it's one thing to go, to me, even the silence projects guilt to me, because I've been talking all along, and there are people in my family that didn't want me to talk. There are people in my family on the other side of Prince's family that were going, they didn't even want us coming to the memorial. And I found all that strange. Not Tyka's side of the family, because that's me and Prince's side of the family. That's how we're related. Prince's dad's side of the family did not want us there, our family there. I ain't trying to start no stuff, but that's just the real, and I was like, oh, I love Tyka for fighting for that, because she was in control of that. And we didn't, but I would have been real miffed if we didn't get a chance to go. But we were invited, and all I did was come in there and I started checking everybody out. I wanted to know, there's a lot of things I don't trust about a whole lot of stuff that's going on, because at one point, one of the family members on Prince's dad's side sued him. And being that I'm all Prince, always figuring out always was paying attention to everything this man did since he got in this business. And I have information and paperwork and articles and everything you can name. You just would be blown away of the stuff I've collected from 1978 when he got in this deal till when he passed last year. And that's me speaking out. Not really many people that you've seen out here today who have been talking. They weren't talking when Prince was alive. I found that to be absolutely crazy too. Now they're all loving and all that. And if you're really in the mix here in Minnesota, because this is how it works, because it's an intimate group of people, musicians, and a crowd of people that hang out together and been hanging out together since Prince made it. Mm-hmm. So you get all the juicy information. Got all that, man. So that conversation about Kirk is really going around. You can believe it. And I know on the fans' point, they've been reaching out to me all the way across the sea, over in Manchester, London. People just have been, support like you can't believe. So.
Yeah, like I said, man, I all I can do is just, I'm almost an outsider, and I just assume that,
Well, I go, what do you think? Some of the journalists pulled me aside and said they immediately were thinking it was strange that there's mislabeled bottles in Prince's. See, to me, even Prince living in the studio was crazy to me. Not too many people are deep enough to understand how this game is played. But that's why I never really wanted to be in it. Prince told me I could play with anybody. And he didn't really, I could just tell, he's like, you don't want to be in this.
Well,
Chazz, as much as you, go ahead.
No, I don't want to cut you off, but I just want to, sort of keep asking some questions, let you go. But I want to push back a little bit, do my job to say, somebody would say, well, Chazz, are you just mad you wasn't a part of, was he talking to you later in life or that type of stuff? I mean, what do you answer for that?
Yeah. See, I get that's some hate. That's some hate. That doesn't make any sense to me because I go, he's my cousin. I grew up with him. That was enough. I never been, first of all, jealous of no man. I ran my neighborhood. Prince grew up with me. He was following me around. Andre and him, I brought all them guys into my camp. You talk about a hustler. Truly getting gigs for us and everything. I've never regretted, not at one point, of him doing and becoming what he became. I was nothing but proud. You can ask anybody that knows me or has read an article that I've spoken in. Nothing but praise. And I totally was influenced of the fact, me being a drummer, and he became the great drummer that he was, and all the drummers that played with him, I studied all of them and continue to. And there were people that Prince let go that are around. They quit listening to Prince's music. They hated on him. And then after he passed, I seen them going out and they're playing in concerts and doing tours and tributes to him. So you don't see me doing tributes. You see me going like, I'm going to find out what happened to my cousin. Because I believe that every man deserves justice. At any point in time, I don't care who you are, how much money you have. You deserve, especially our people, especially in the music business. I'm seeing it, and Prince and I have seen it before he passed. And I know he was thinking, if he was here, they got me, man. Because I told him they didn't want him around no family and no friends. I heard that back when he got his deal in 1978. Stay away from family and friends.
Why do you think they said that?
But then they moved all their family and friends in the mix and started working with Prince and was getting that bag. You know how that goes.
Let me ask you, who is they?
Oh man, the record company, the management, the people that they put out there to kind of frost the cake and kind of get you away from the people they could see, that know that they could be. See, Prince's problem to me is that he never was around people that he really admired, like except for like Miles Davis and them big huge cats. And once they passed away, people like George Duke, people like Stevie Wonder, he was impressed by them, and people that were older and he had respect for. But when you're around some people that all they're doing is praising you, I mean, you can pretty much you discount them whether they're great musicians or not. They weren't as great as him. There was nobody like Prince, period. But there were people that he admired, and Miles Davis and people like that could make Prince go like, oh, because Prince had sent him a song, and Miles sent it back, said, I didn't need it. Prince didn't get mad. He said Prince understood from one artist to another. Miles was about, if it don't fit, stay out of it. Find a place in there. If it does, I'll find a place if it works. But if it don't work, don't put it in there. And Prince understood that. All real musicians do.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, to answer your question on a big wide scope, and I like to settle everybody down. I'm one of the only people in the entire world. We got other cousins and stuff, but nobody can say or brag that they grew up playing with Prince. So I'm cool. I'm cool with just that part. And then plus, I've been having a blessed life since then. I didn't need to go run around and play and be all in that world with him. I knew he didn't want me in that. I never asked. I got my own deal myself. I didn't have to have like certain other artists needed songs from Prince in order to get their names out there. I would have got my stuff on my own. And people still said I sounded like Prince. You sound just like him. Are you sure he didn't work with this? I said, I wish he would have, but he didn't. All the haters come out. One thing I learned, when you're doing something like the stuff that we were doing, I had no idea the crabs and the barrels, like my dad was telling me. You better watch out, son. Everybody's gonna try to. Well, I experienced it big time. So no, man, it ain't never been nothing but love. I didn't like some of the things my cousin was doing. I always been real about that. I made it known to him too that I didn't like it if you didn't come to your mama's funeral. I don't care if you're a Jehovah's Witness or not. It's documented. I said something about it. They wrote about it. Didn't nobody else say anything?
Let me ask you about something.
Nobody.
Let me ask you about that. Not about the funeral. That's not my place. But in terms of being able to tell Prince or people in that position. So was there a time where, you were not accessible or Prince wasn't as accessible to you or to other family members? Because you talked about, I want to go back to when you talked about they and sort of people that surround him versus somebody who could probably get in his ear and be like, hey, man.
Exactly. It seemed like that was part of the problem to me is that anybody that would stand up or talk back, and I'm just keeping it 100. See, my dad raised me to be a leader of men. So I don't follow nobody. So when you tell me some stuff and it's the okie doke, I'm not rolling with it. And I will tell you that straight up. But there were people around Prince at that time at the beginning, they would have did anything. And they did do anything. I just wasn't the one. I got offered the gig to do when Prince, people don't even really know this. They're starting to wake up now to the information. And it's not their fault because, a lot of stuff with Prince's life was kind of miscued. Changed around. His mom was Italian. I've been hearing all kinds of stuff. But his first keyboard player that he took on tour with her, she was my keyboard player in my band. And Prince had offered me the job with his group, his first group, when he did his first album For You in 1978. And I turned him down. I said, if I can't, he said you could play percussion. He needed to have the dude, Bobby Rifkin, playing the drums because he needed I heard management, they wanted a multi-racial band. I didn't agree with that. And I can't tell you I wasn't mad about it because we grew up, in the 60s. So I'm like, yo, brother, we always made a pact. If you make it, let's go get the rest of the brothers because we had a lot of talent in Minneapolis. So, I was disturbed by that comment alone, and I said something about it. I made it known, and all them cats was looking at me like, who is this? Oh, yeah, that's his cousin. We got to watch him. I could see it in their faces. And so, I turned it down, but I gave him the girl keyboard player that I brought with me. Her name is Gail Chapman. You can look it up.
Yeah.
Facts. The first keyboard player. And she'll even tell you, I never told her that Prince was my cousin. I never told her I even knew him. And I was jamming with her, and I was putting my own group together because I didn't really, I didn't know how Prince was going to put his thing together. So I wanted the job. Don't get me wrong. Everybody in Minnesota wanted that gig, and probably around the world because Prince had open auditions at this warehouse called Dale's Termites, where everybody came and tried to record. I had my drum set in there. It was about 5 G's back in the day, so that's a lot of money. And I had my kid in there, and that warehouse got robbed, and my kid got taken out of there. So it's like so some people really don't understand how really hard these people can move to keep you away from. And I'm not going to say it wasn't some of Prince wanting to be, because that's the kind of cat he was. Once he felt like things weren't going the way he wanted them to, he could switch up. But If I wanted to go someplace, go to shows, he would leave me tickets. I wouldn't take them. He would leave me stuff. Have cars come to pick me up. I'd say, nah, man, because I was mad about the warehouse drums, getting my drums being taken out of the warehouse, the way he was running this whole thing. But I sounded like sour grapes back then if I said that. So I just said, long as he made it, because he knew what he was doing, and I'm just going to say this for the record, Prince had to do what he had to do to be him. So I never was mad at that. A little miffed at it, like, wow, why you got to do it like that? Because I felt like, dude, you're a powerhouse by yourself. You don't need to listen to any of these cats that are telling you that. And I'm just going to tell you, it wasn't just the Warner Brothers people. It was just like, I will say, I hate trying to be politically correct because I am not. I'm so anti all that crap. Man, there's a certain segment of people that are always around our people where we're being successful in music.
Man, you're on your politician right now. You're on your politician. Go ahead.
So that's all I'm kicking like that because, I know people be trying to come after their brother, but y'all know who the usual suspects are when there's a black artist that makes it real big and they end up, their money gets shaky and, they're on drugs or some kind of madness. I'm not the only person that's spoken that, but I've seen the heat people have gotten by saying it, so.
I get you.
I know people can figure this out for themselves, especially the real fans. They know what's up.
All right.
They know who I'm talking about.
Well, take us back to, man, just to give some more history and context. We've heard some of the stories. You were the original drummer, and then, Morris Day came in the picture and that type of stuff. How early on was that?
Let's see. We're 14. I'm a freshman in high school.
Now you were older than those cats.
Player.
Were you older than a lot of the cats?
Yeah, me and Morris both are 2 years older than them. Okay. So I was already at North, and they still was at Lincoln Junior High School, where we were dominating talent shows and everything. And I had actually got us the gig at my high school, North High School, and I was the quarterback on our football team. So I wasn't raised just to be able to do one thing. My dad said, whatever you do, be great at it. So I was great at sports too. So I heard Andre tell the story about how I got out of the group. Was that I wasn't coming to practice because I was coming late because I was going to, playing football. I thought them guys thought that was dope that I was able to do, because we had that crowd that was rolling with me, of my age group, and they had their age group of people digging us. So we had a great following, a lot of love in the neighborhood, a lot of love in the community. That's real facts. And it was. I thought it was a cool thing. I never seen the whole thing. Let's see. Let me get back to 14. I'm like we're going 15, 16. We're like I said. I'm a freshman. I meet Morris because Andre told the story a little different. This is just the facts to me. Morris. I was asked to take Morris Day around our school because he was new coming from Champaign or someplace in Illinois. Rock Island, no, that's Jesse's from Rock Island. I think it's Champaign. I may be wrong about that. Don't quote me on the place, but I know it was Illinois. He wasn't from our hometown. And I liked the dude, and my teacher said, would you chaperone him around and introduce him to everybody? So I did. I even introduced him to my band. So the way Andre tells it that Morris was hounding them, he may have been doing that behind my back. But I had just heard that for the first time, that kind of little stuff was going on, because I thought that in all real true essence that I was doing us a service by getting us the gigs, and actually being a cool enough friend to even bring people around our band, because I was very careful about the kind of people I did bring, because I knew people wanted to be next to what we were doing. And I went and seen Morris play himself. He was incredible. He blew me away. I was going, yo, dude. And as one drummer to the next, though our styles were different, I really took to Morris like, let's woodshed together and learn stuff from each other. So that's the way I looked at it. I didn't know the dude was chirping in Andre and them guys' ear to take my spot, which our band was so dope, I guess I would have did the same thing. It's not my character to be like that, but you got to be a certain kind of dude to me to kind of I would say, sneak up and try to, influence people and take their band. But I learned a big lesson from all that madness because that's how the music business works. And I was getting introduced to it. And Morris's family was a little more, his mother and them guys who eventually ended up managing those guys, was more savvy than we were. I mean, we weren't stupid or anything like that because we had managers before that and everything. But that slick move they pulled on me. And then they ended up playing the gig that I got us the gig for, that we auditioned for, that I was playing the drums on. And all my whole school, because see, the things they might have thought that everybody loved them on that. They was like totally hated on that, especially my crew of people. They was like, because I had just left the football team. I had left. I told them that I was not, they were going to need more time from me, more commitment on the weekend. I said, I can't do it. And they said, well, my coach sat me down and said, you got to make a decision. You're either going to play football or you're going to play music. And I looked at him and I was loyal to my crew. I said, I got to go with my boys. I'm playing music. So my football team totally pissed at me. My friends I grew up playing sports all my life quit talking to me.
And you were the quarterback?
Quarterback, baby.
Wow.
For real.
Man.
Seriously. And Terry Lewis was in the backfield.
Really?
Because me and Terry Lewis came up playing football, parkboard, Pee-wee. He was a monster. So I had to, you see what kind of bass player he ended up being the bass player in the time. And we used kind of the athletic part of our persona and put it in our music. Because, that energy, you can see it even when you see Prince and them. It's all there. It's all packaged. But, Morris wasn't hustling like that. I ain't trying to knock the brother. He did end up being a superstar. I have mad respect for him on that tip. But it wasn't like that then. I had the juice back in the day. That was my whole thing. No brag, just fact. People will tell you. I have friends of mine that go like, dude, you're a living legend in our neighborhood. That's in the hood, North Minneapolis.
Talk to us about the politics of North Minneapolis in terms of, the groups and the friends and all of that type of thing.
This is the thing. It was so dope how many groups that you could walk down a block. And I know I've heard it said a million times by other people, but this is just my own personal. There were so many groups playing, creating, sharing information. You learn how to dress, style on stage, choreograph, all that. Set the stage up, have your atmosphere all laid out. Man, everybody was doing that. And so fierce competition because everybody was good. We didn't look at it like, oh, man, you're not. It wasn't like on the level when these guys get album deals and then they start, fronting like that. Back in the day, and I always would say this to people when they would interview me and ask me about the Minneapolis sound and all that, I go, it was the dopest thing in the world until people interjected money into the situation. Once money came in, everything changed. When somebody had enough money to buy and steal somebody from another band, they kept that band from functioning and eating. So it was that kind of stuff was going on. I started to not like it. So, but it was until that point when people started, like, I'll say the people that started making it and getting out of Minneapolis, because Prince wasn't the first one to make it out of Minneapolis. Bobby Lyle, you go look him up. Baddest keyboard player you ever want to see. We used to see him when I was a kid. We'd go to the Blue Note and sneak in this club. We wasn't supposed to be in there. He would be in there playing. Go look him up. He played with Sly Stone years later, but he's a jazz virtuoso genius. He's still playing to this day. He was from here.
Okay.
So we looked at him, and then plus Sonny Thompson, a good friend of ours, we used to go sit and sneak up and check their band out, what they was doing. We listened to their rehearsals. And he ended up going and playing with James Brown. And we were fascinated with the fact that he got a gig with James Brown, so he was a star to us when he came back. So it was like they didn't come back and try to go like, oh, I'm going to start stealing people's members out of their bands and all this stuff. It's when the dude started getting the big cake. That's when everything fell apart here. And I always call it the false Minneapolis the false Minneapolis thing, because a lot of brothers came up here looking for that. And they said, man, I read about you in the Stephen Ivory book, man, in 1984 and stuff. And they go, I seen you in there. He said, I just thought I could just go up to Prince and them guys and go and bring my demo tape. I mean, a particular dude that told me this, he was in the group called Low Key. I don't know if you ever heard of them. They were signed with.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, with Lance Alexander. I love this brother. He just came over. He said, man, you're Chazz Smith, man. I was going, man, how do you know me? He said, I seen you in Stephen Ivory's book, man. He said, man, yo, I moved up here because I said, man, if y'all got this going on up here, he brought his crew and everything because they thought you could just walk up and drop your demo off to these cats. And
right.
Brothers, the way it was laid out seemed like we loved each other. It was all cool. It was like that at one time. But by the time he was coming up here, it wasn't like that. So we seen the hard grind he had to accomplish and work he had to put in for himself. That it wasn't like that. It was some easy gravy train. It was not easy for any of the cats up here because, first of all, the gigs were very few and in between because if you were all black act, you weren't getting much work. But the white acts had gigs all over this town and was able to make a living playing music.
Wow.
You cats usually had to have a job and do their music too.
Let me ask you about that. And I like that you brought up Low Key. They had that one song, I had a thing for you, baby.
Yo, I love that. Yeah.
But I always remember too.
Shout out to Lance.
Yeah, I always remember hearing the story about even early Jodeci, Devontae and them. They came up to Minneapolis and tried to go to Paisley Park and drop off their demo tape, right? They thought that's what it was. And a lot of us cats, because I'm from that era when that was popping and it was so influenced by it, we all thought that, based off of seeing Purple Rain and hearing the time and all that, Minneapolis was popping. If you just went up there, you could probably get put on. It would be the same way when cats, would think, early hip hop, if you just went to New York or something,
True.
You could go get put on or something. But talk to us.
But it's a selective put on. See, it's like that everywhere. So.
Well, and also we used to think that, based off of the movie and the imageries, that, you could probably just go to any club or something and you would hear them, it'd be going down. There was, but you saying, nah, it wasn't like that. Like,
Nah, it wasn't. See, but you had to know, see, I was gifted enough. That's why for somebody to even go like, well, are you mad because Prince said that you didn't go with Prince? And someone go like, man, come on. When you were here in Minneapolis, I knew where all the hangouts were, all the dope musicians were. So I got carte blanche treatment. I'd go in there and I was rubbing elbows with everybody. Bean, any dude you could name, Jesse, all them cats were like walking through. Paul Peterson, some of the greatest jazz and contemporary artists. They were hanging out in a certain spot, and I would go to those clubs. And that's where you could maybe get on if they were looking for somebody. Maserati would be in there. All the cats would be in one spot. It was called Felties. So the club owner was scared because he said, all you dudes gonna do is bring a bunch of black people down there. And at first, it was just a bunch of white girls trying to run down there and get up on some brothers, man, because we had the fly shit going on. So sisters, for real, sisters and white girls was coming flocking down there. We had even the pimps started coming down there because they were saying, there's females down there. We need to go to Felties and check these. That was downtown. We need to go check this out before First Avenue was popping any of that. It was the stars were there. So everybody knew me. They knew I was Prince's cousin. I played with him and stuff, and I had my own vibe. I walked in that joint. Everybody had their own vibe. Nobody was looking at each other going, you're better than me, and I'm this. Everybody knew they had their little pocket of people to hang out with, and we all mingled together, and we all had respect for one another. And if you weren't in that crew, you might have brought your demo up here, and if one of those people didn't bring that demo to somebody, because you wasn't going to get no play. Just wasn't happening. But if you was in that little pocket, like I would be sitting in the place where Alexander would be, Alexander O'Neal, and Alex told me he goes like, watch it, bro. Jimmy and Terry, they just got signed. They got a production production deal, and they're going to have their own label. And they said they're going to come back and get me because he was supposed to be in the time. Right. So he told me the story. He said, your cousin, I'd always get the stuff that people wouldn't say to friends. They would come to me and say, but Alex I always had bad respect for Alex because he told it exactly like it was. He said, yeah, man, he gave me the real on with how my cousin came to the point of how Alex was going to be, you know, he wanted Alex for the lead singer because it wasn't going to be Morris. Morris was going to be the drummer, and Bean would have been out. Because them guys had another band they were in. This is people taking people from people's bands and stuff. So Alex turned it down because he said, what about the money? What kind of money am I getting? He didn't want, Alex was a star around here. They loved him. You know, he could sing. Alex could blow way before, and he had a little EP going on, and he was a star here, man. White girls and black girls are falling all over that brother. He had everything going on out here, and he felt like he needed Prince. If Prince was going to put him on the financial tip, he was cool with it. But that's not what was going down. It was like, you guys are going, you know, I'm going to get this. And Alex wanted, he wanted to be a star himself. He knew his capability. Trust me.
He knew his work.
I would take him to concerts and stuff. He knew his way. He put the work in. He was around town putting his own flyers together, putting bands together. He had an all-white group at one time where he was the lead singer, and the group was some white dudes, and he was fronting that stuff, and it was killing in Minneapolis. I mean, so I met him from some dudes that had went to school down at the Conservatory of Music down in Denver, Colorado, with Maurice White from Earth, Wind & Fire, and Verdine White, and, of course, Philip Bailey. So he had hung out with them. And so when I met Alex up here, his friend that he brought up here with them, they were in a conservatory together with them brothers. So we, like I said, if you didn't know, I knew all these people. And, you know, like when Lance came up and he said, yo, man, I just need to get my demo to somebody. That's how it worked. If you knew somebody, you could get in. But if you didn't, it was freeze frame. If they couldn't use you for something, if you didn't have something unique that they could put into their group, you weren't going to get looked at. I don't care how talented you were. Because we all thought everything was based on talent, but it was talent, hard work, and some luck and knowing somebody. I would always say it was 90%, you better know somebody.
Wow. Talk to me about, so when is red hot, Minneapolis thing is blowing up, and a lot of groups or people are getting signed to deals. And you talked about
that was in the 80s.
Yeah, when the money came in, you said that people was pulling people from groups and things like that. Now, some of the big groups, some of the big projects that I can recall, of course, Jesse Johnson's Review, you know, that was the hit when that was
dope.
Dropped. Yeah. Maserati, of course.
Killer.
You know, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. Killer. Flight Time, doing their thing. Man, what were some of the groups that we didn't get to really hear that was popping out of that area at the time? Was there any?
Really, all those guys that you just named, at one time or another, were in the same group. So that's how it all cycled. You know, somebody would get, you know, the money would get funny, and somebody would start their own group. Like Jesse didn't just leave the time. Morris just didn't leave the time and go solo. They had their reasons for going because, you know, every time the money got funny, everybody, you know, took off. And, you know, poor Jelly Bean, one of the baddest drummers that come out of Minnesota, and a humble brother, love him to death. He got in a situation where he was in the group, of course, the time, and then when Morris left the group, he got offered the job to play with the group The Family Prince was forming. You see how it worked? So he had to take that gig, even though he loved the time was the bomb. Nobody could touch them. They just killed everyone. Worldwide, just forget it. They was even kicking Prince's Revolution bands behind. I'm sure that's why, you know, Prince was going like, dang, they was keeping heat on Prince. But, you know, that Bean was, you know, that's how it happened. He just, you know, everybody who knew somebody, or you had to have a connection, or you were in a group that somebody knew about. I mean, there was this group called Gentlemen of Style. I think Brown Mark was in that group before. See, but he knew Andre. So when Andre left Prince's group, I come over to Andre's house to see him, and Brown Mark is at the crib. His real name's Mark Brown. And I'm going like, yo, Mark, what's up? And he's looking at me going like, yo, what's up, man? I'm going like, he said, man, I'm getting ready to go play with your cousin on tour with the Revolution, because I knew I already had been speaking to Andre and about him leaving the band. So that's how I'm gonna break it down. Is that's how the splinter groups started happening. Is when, you know, groups do come and they do go, but that's how the groups that you've heard of everything that came out of Minneapolis that was popping because
Okay.
one way or another, like the group The Crash.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever heard of them?
Yes.
Remember how tight they were? Well, that was Jesse's
Right.
Jesse's gig, and all those guys were in the Gentlemen of Style, this group, and they were, Jesse signed them, and then when Jesse's thing for A&M wasn't going down, them guys couldn't, nobody could do it like everyone tried to do it like Prince. And there were only few that could really kind of maintain. You can see they're still standing today.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, Andre Simone, and Jesse.
Wow. Yeah, The Crash. I remember something had happened with that group, and they had to change the name, and it came out in a different...
I don't know what happened, but I know that Jesse he was like grabbing the he had Tamara in the Scene, and all those guys I knew they were in groups that I knew about, but now Jesse was starting his own thing, his own production company along with his deal, and I didn't also realize that a lot of those cats need those extra production deals to be able to finance their situations that they were doing as solo artists, and so I'd watch that stuff start, and then I'd watch it get all funky and fall apart, but yet at the same time I'd be hearing them whispers that those cries that, the Minneapolis sound, the Minnesota sound, you got to go there. You can get hooked up if you go to Minnesota because you're going to liable to run into Prince or somebody. But, man, you had to be, like, in the mix to get picked up. So to answer your question, if I can, I really think that you've heard probably nothing got missed in here, especially when Prince was grabbing people. Because he grabbed the baddest everybody, lawyer, whatever the baddest entertainment attorney was here, and then he'd go through them. And he started like checking out Los Angeles and worldwide, it kept growing and growing. And so you either dealt with somebody that had something to do with Prince who had a sour taste in their mouth or whatever kind of taste they had. Usually I would run into people. I was doing some production work out in Los Angeles in 1980. And this dude who was my engineer, he took me over his house after we were doing some work in the studio. He said, man, why don't you come by my crib and let me show you, what my crib looks like and stuff. And he played me a couple demos and stuff. Now I'm not even looking for this. Dude has a bird cage. And I look over at the bird. It's a big giant cockatiel. I check it out. And all of a sudden in the bottom of the bird cage was my cousin Prince's poster. And I looked at dude. I was shook. I looked at dude. I said, yo, man, what's up with the poster? I said, that's my cousin. So dude looked at me on evil all of a sudden and was like, he had engineered with Prince, because he was working with people like Fleetwood Mac and stuff like that. So he did an engineering session with Prince when he was out there a year before I got out there. And he was so mad at Prince because he said Prince was so rude to him and that Prince worked him so hard that he said he put the pitch poster face up so the bird could shit in Prince's face. True story, facts.
Wow.
Blew me away. And I'm sitting up here going, so I wanted to bust dude in his head if he really wants you on that too. I called my boys and told them to come and get me. I said, y'all got to come and get me, man. Because I said, I can't hang with this dude. I got to run out. That's how I hurt this cat.
Wow.
It was getting deep like that. Dude was steaming and smoking and stuff. I was like, yo, dude, you don't want to do that. Because, I'll take it there.
Hilarious.
So, yeah, I had to dump dude, and he was working for my aunt and my uncle. They had they were accountants. They were big time CPAs out there, so they had connections to the record industry. So they were trying to help me out, and that was the first dude they brought to me. So that was my experience about my cousin out there. I was like, whoa, wait a minute, dude. I mean, how did Prince get out here and get all crazy out here? So that's
All right. Well, let me bring in. We got Big Sexy is joining us as well. Bring him into the conversation.
Yo, man, what's up?
What's going on, Mr. Smith? How you doing, man?
What's going on? I'm doing well, man. How about you?
I'm doing all right. I got held up doing my civilian court thing today, but I got that handled. Got my cases called, got them handled, and I'm here. So all right. I apologize for being late.
Oh, it's all good. Don't even
worry about it.
We're gonna keep it rolling. I wanted to ask you this. Going back into A&M Records. Now, you mentioned to me that you had a deal over at A&M, and
I'll send you the Billboard clip. I got actually written up with the clip in Billboard. Nelson George's part at the time he was writing the R&B section. Mm-hmm. He put me in there. Michael Jackson's on the same page. Jody Watley, The Jackson 5. Yeah, I'm just going like they were talking about all them, and then they talk about me, and that, I was freaked out that they even did that for me like that. But they showed me big time love because I had a couple songs that I had written myself, and they swore to God Prince worked on them, and I told him if you can find Prince to work, have him work on them. And he don't do that anyways. But I said I didn't need that, but that's the kind of heat I was getting because it sounded so close to him. Not to brag, and I wasn't trying to, but if you can see, Andre, all of us kind of, people will say, you guys talk alike, y'all sound alike. I said, well, we spent most of our childhood running together. I mean, running tough, day in and day out. So when A&M, I sent them the demo to Stephen Ivory. He was writing for Black Beat magazine. And all I did was look up the number that they had on the magazine. And he was he didn't answer at first, but then he picked up the phone and he said, I'm getting ready to do this book. And I said, I said, on who? He said, Prince. And I said, you want to talk to me? So I helped him do his book, and I said, for helping you do the book, he wanted to, he offered me some cash, and I said, no. If I get some demos to you, can you get them to the right people? And he said, I'm good friends with John McClain, who was big time A&R at A&M Records.
Yeah.
And they was coming tough looking for Minneapolis talent that Prince hadn't signed. They was trying to find some people here. And I said, okay. Stephen probably thought, I ain't going to hear from this dude. So we do the book. The book comes out. It's called Prince. It's a little small. It's a first Prince book. Mad respect. Dude gave me special thanks and everything. But he respected me because I didn't want any money or anything from it. I just said, could you just hook a connect up for a brother? So he did that. I got my demos ready, man. This is in 1985. I send him the demo. Dude calls me up. I played over the phone first. He said, can you just send it to me? But when I put it on his answering machine, because that's what they had back then, he was so knocked out over it. The song's called Funny You Should Call. He said, man, dude. He said, man, you got any more songs? I said, yeah, but I ain't gonna be sending my songs out like that. He was going like, no, I'm gonna sit with John McClain. He had Lamborghini and stuff like that. And he was big time. And he's sitting there, he knows the Jacksons. He's telling me all this stuff, and I'm going like, okay. He goes, kid, I'm gonna sit with this brother and play this to him, because it had a Sly Stone kind of a Prince feel to it, and it was like nothing he had heard. So he's going, I'm meeting John for lunch. I'm going to play him. I'm going to put him in my car, and I'm going to ride with him until he listens to it, because John's kind of hard to, keep his attention. He said when he popped that joint in, not to brag, he said, dude, he said, when can you get out here? Now, that was on a Thursday. I'm never going to forget it. I said, well, I can come anytime, man, because I had a little production crew that was letting me work in a 12-track studio. I recorded that song on a 12-track. It wasn't even quality to me that I could do. It was just the facility that I could afford, and it was there. These guys were trying to manage me. I said, well, I can get the guys that are managing me. I can talk them into sending me out to L.A. He said, okay, I'll hook it up on my end. I get out to Los Angeles. We go out there in 2 days. They got a limo for me. They take me to the Hard Rock Cafe. I'm in John McClain's office. Janet Jackson's sitting there. Woo. She gives me the album Control. Woo. Before it wasn't even thought about, except for Jimmy and him was holding it down and was keeping it like seriously under wraps. I'm sitting on the couch with John McClain. I had just seen some of the Silvers were standing outside their office. The old Silvers group, they were standing outside the door when I walked in, and I tried to keep my composure like, damn, I said, that's the Silvers, okay. And then I seen Janet, I sat down, and she goes, hey, what's happening? Chazz. And I said, hey, what's happening? And I'm sitting there going, I'm nervous as hell. I'm going like, what do you mean? This is real stuff going on. So John McClain comes out, and he goes like, yo, man, he said, yo, he right away, he said, I got some good news and some bad news. He said, the good news is, he said, man, I think you got it. The bad news is, he said, the quality of that tape, he said, we can do it better out here. He said, I want you to come out here. And so my management are looking at me, they're going, because they didn't believe it. they said, so you're going to sign me? He goes, yeah, we give you a shot and then, see where it goes from there. So he said, but there's some things we have to do because he's A&R. They're going to get you artist and development. He's going to get you hooked up. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited. And then Janet turns to me and goes like, Chazz, here's my new album. And I look at it. It hadn't even been colored in yet. It was a black and white colored cover of Control. Mm-hmm. And they popped that joint in. I was bopping to that the whole time I was in LA for the rest of the time till we got back to Minneapolis and playing it to people. They was like, because people were going like, I had friends of mine, first of all, there were a lot of cats that had demos here, but they were kind of afraid to go out there and take a chance on either getting them critiqued or I couldn't understand why. There'd be cats that had like shelves full of demos. I take my one song out there, Funny You Should Call, and they said they was ready to work with me. But the management team that I had here in Minneapolis got so jealous because they overheard me talking to Stephen Ivory and John McClain. They were going to get me bigger management out there. Mm. They overheard the conversation, and so they wanted to sue me and shut me down. So I missed the whole opportunity of going back out there and working with them. So the deal folded. So I never got a chance to even do anything with it.
Wow, man, you was sitting there at the table with Janet. Control before it dropped. John McClain.
Before it even drops, and I'm sitting there going, "Oh, this is like a dream. A brother can't." But I'm gonna just be honest with you. It was a frightening experience. I kind of wondered how Prince was able to. I said, "Man, my cousin must have had to go through some craziness to be in this business." I remember thinking that when I was sitting on the couch. I said, "Because, he met everybody. Mm-hmm. I mean, he had met Shaka Khan and had called me up and said, Shaka Khan's at the studio with me. This is on his first album.
Right.
She's there with it." I said, Ike Turner and Sly Stone's in the next studio, Studio B.
Right.
And Carlos Santana, I'm going over his house tonight and stuff like that. Me and him would go, whoa, shoot, dude. Not only do you play like dude, here you're out here as a kid, you're wishing you can sound like this guy, and you do, and now you're out there with the guy. So that's how I felt when I was sitting on the couch with them. I was completely overwhelmed with joy and saying, how lucky am I to even get, and I knew it, the reason why I even got in the door was because of Prince Nelson. Wow. Because John McClain had an affinity for the whole Minneapolis sound, including he had a thing with Prince stealing his women out in Los Angeles. He goes, "Oh, Charles, you got them green eyes." He said, "Man, I hope you don't want to live out here because he said, your cousin's already stealing all the women." I was going, "Yeah, cuz." "Yeah, cuz. I know. Yeah, you didn't want the kid to move out there. You sure didn't want me to move out there. I got it. Yeah, John laid it out like that. Real talk, man.
Yeah,
that was my time. That was my time to get. That I thought I was going to get signed. And I'm glad. Thinking about it, after what ended up happening to my cousin, which my father didn't want me to get in the business because of the whole drug thing he's seen, and he was completely against it. I had to always sneak and do things with music. Me and Prince's dad and family they were into it. Of course, his dad was a keyboard player, so he was cool with it. And his dad was cool with me doing stuff with music, but my dad wasn't. I had to always like hide from my dad when I'd go to shows. I had to sneak and go to them. And my band, Grand Central, didn't know it. So some of the way I was acting, which Andre's mother articulated that to him later, what I was going through to try to even keep myself even in the band. They had no idea. So when they did that little shift with the Morris thing, I thought, y'all's my homies. And I think that's the only time really that I really got shook because them were my boys. And they pulled that. But I said, I look at it in retrospect. I go, everything happens for a reason. And I'm still here. I've had my journey. It's been a great journey. I don't regret a thing. Not even going with Prince or anything, because I easily could have. But I always wondered what my life would have been, or could I have protected him? Because that's why I wanted us to be homies. I wanted us all to stick together because we had already studied the record business, and we knew that people were, we know it was crooked. That's all you hear is when, family members would tell you, said, "Oh, that's a crooked business." Mm-hmm. it's Rod and there ain't number devils in there. And we were like, wow, you tripping. You tell some kids that, they're going like, oh, it ain't going to happen to us. So maybe I'm like jumping around, but, if you need to get me back on point.
No,
because I feel like all of this kind of ties into the Justice for Cuz, because it really kind of does. It really does. The beginning and me watching it all and the progression, even with the whole thing with the Minneapolis Sound, everything with the movie, all of it leads you, if you're following me, it leads you to the Prince's demise. It leads you right to it, and others.
Go ahead. When was the last time you spoke to Prince? If you can share that.
Oh man, I really am not going to, because I'm actually going to. I've been asked that, believe it, but I will say this: I didn't talk to him. I had no information about talking to him during the past couple years.
Okay,
I'll leave it at that.
I respect that. What did
even down to the end where people are saying that they talked to Prince? I don't know if it was fashionable or something, and if people really did talk to him, all I know is there was a certain amount of people that did talk to him, and I know for real they did, and there were some people that said they did, and I don't really know if they did, and there are some people that did. They better be careful, because people were listening to it, they're checking their phone conversations out and stuff like that where Prince passed, and their information, because there was some twisted information the police got from some of the people that were there when the authorities arrived. They got some. Of course, they're telling me all this. I am privy to information other people aren't. So I got all that. I know stuff that that's crazy.
I would imagine. I want to be careful and respectful, because again, you're a family, so these are things that you should have, and maybe some of that may, I don't want to get too out there with it, because you just said a few things right there that I could just really jump into, but maybe we'll come back.
Oh, what are those?
Well, when you talk about the phone things and like certain people who was there with him at the last time.
Oh yeah. Well, it's already public knowledge who was there when they found Prince's body. So I didn't name any names. I'm just saying it's already. All I'm doing is giving you the real public information that's already out there. So it's nothing that the fans don't know or anybody else that really paid attention to Prince's thing.
Well, with that said, then what do you think about? I mean, and that's why I was asking the last time you spoke to him. So two things. What do you think about the people that were around him? What his circle, or I don't know if there's people that work for him, or if he had real friends or family, versus, and then also versus who was the Prince that you knew or remembered versus the one that we see out in the public.
Man. Okay. I'll answer that one first. That's a good one. There would be times that I would look at Prince when I would see him. And now the first 78, 79, 80, I would see him all the time. 81, 82 are all up in, even Purple Rain. I was when they were doing the movie, I was there. So I talked to him at the movie set. I was on the set with him. So that was 85, 86. Didn't talk to him. Let's see, I went to the Masquerade Ball. That was around when the album Around the World in a Day was out. So I got invited to the Masquerade Ball that Prince threw, where he came as himself and everybody else had a costume on. And he pulled me out of a line of people that were trying to get in, and he walked down the line as himself and came and pulled me out. That was probably the last time I really had a real deep conversation with him. So the people that were around him, I've always been nervous about the people that have been around him since day one. Not his first management, but then when he started getting out there with the Italians that he had that were doing the movie and stuff, even though they did good for his career, I heard things, about them threatening him and all this old madness stuff. And it's well known here, how these people roll. And,
I
got to ask you, you said about them threatening? Threatening who?
Oh, yeah, threatening Prince for, because Prince fired him and all kinds of stuff. It's in all kinds of books.
Okay.
I mean, I'm in about 14 books that you could read, and this information's in the book.
I got you.
Or what was going on. He felt like he was getting not threatened physically, but he lawsuits and all that kind of crazy stuff. Yep. And then I was told too that he was threatened physically. Now this is just people telling me stuff. And then even after he passed, I got information. People were calling me up and telling me and messaging me and trying to let me know things. So I learned a lot about the whole his last people that were around him. And I'm not saying they had anything to do with anything, but all I look at is that whoever was around him, they didn't do a good job watching out for him. That was my whole thing anyways when I even first did the interview right after he passed and our local news came over to my house. I didn't want to do any interviews at all, but I said, I'm going to talk. I felt like the emotion was necessary. All of it needed to be in there so I could get people to pay attention because they have a tendency to forget about you because you're rich and famous, supposedly. So I don't want anybody to just overlook Prince's death. I wanted them to look into it. I wanted them to find out what happened. I wanted details. Why'd you guys lie about the fact he had the flu when you knew he didn't have the flu? Why was that said? Why couldn't you just say exactly what? I'm tired of the games. Why is there always this okey doke information with the record business where they got to go, lie to, but I'm family. I'm going like, these questions we're going to ask. So, but when I seen people moving full steam forward, I couldn't help but have it bother me. And I don't care who says anything or thinks anything about it. It just bothered me. I just said, wow, man, is that how it is? Wow. Wow, it's one big party. Oh, that always bothered me. And that's not saying anything about the people that respectfully, like the fans and people, because the fans are all with me on this. I mean, I got people going like, yo, justice for cause. I'm in a club and the dude walks up to me and he puts his glasses down. He goes, yo, you Chazz Smith, man, justice for cause, brother. And I was going, dude, how do you even know me? He said, man, I've been watching your stuff for a year. You're consistent. He said, man, you're the only brother that's even, and family member that's even doing it like this. And I said, man, thank you, brother. But I was in a place that I didn't even know was full of people that knew who I was over that. I was at Bunkers, a well-known place here in Minneapolis. I was taken down there, but some fans had asked me to come down there. I know what I was going to walk into, but they were all into the justice for cuz thing and go, we really love it that you're trying to find out what happened to your cousin, man. So this is healthy for me. I don't know about anybody else. And yeah, I'm selfish because he is my cousin. So when people go like, question it, I go, if you ain't with us trying to find out what happened to him, don't even give me your comment. I don't even want to hear it because you a hater. If you're for real, you'd want to know what happened to Prince too. If it was your family member, you'd be all knee deep in it, I would think.
Right.
And you would be asking the same questions I'm asking, and you'd be just like me about it, I would think. Man. If you're down like that, I can't help it.
Big Sexy, I want to make sure you get a chance to jump in here.
Oh, yeah. Give him some, I answer any questions. Y'all got me started.
Again, I do apologize for being late, and I don't want to go over something that's already been discussed. So if I do tread into that area, please say so. But going back to when you were in California, I believe you said it was 1980, and that person, that engineer, disrespected the poster. We'll go see him later. Was this based on his experience with Prince when they were recording up in Sausalito at the record plant?
Yes, sir. Yes, exactly. That's exactly. And he said Prince kept him up unusual hours and treated him like shit. That's exactly what he told me, but I wanted to bust dude up.
So in other words,
he was going. Prince made him. But I said Prince paid you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he made it work. He made him earn his dollars. And he thought it was going to be some. Yeah, he made it. He was really kind of pissed off that, how these white boys, they be getting all feel like they got it easy, or they so used to playing and making everything happen in the studio and the people that they're working with. Prince wasn't like that. He said he was about his work. And so I looked at dude like, that's why I got mad at dude. I was like, you ain't going to get me. You really messed up, dude. You didn't have no idea in a million years that you Prince's cousin or family member would be standing in your house and you fronting like that.
So he basically played himself.
If he's alive, he's still thinking about it. Yeah, he played himself big time because he lost a job with me and everything. I said, man, and then I put the word out on dude. I said, man, don't touch that punk.
Wow.
No, I always looked out for Cuz, man. If I used to get in arguments with people about Michael Jackson. And I knew Prince loved Michael Jackson, but people try to always pit them two against each other.
Speak on that, man. Speak on that, please.
Oh, man, it used to drive me crazy and stuff. Dudes were getting a big old, wherever they would be, they knew I was related to him. So they're coming to me and they go like, yo, man, Michael, wear Prince out. And I was like, man, get away from me, man. You don't even know what you're talking about. All due respect, I said, Mike's a great singer and everything. But then I started naming the litany, the long laundry list, the Prince stuff. The dude just said, they want to fight me. You know, they would go like, yo, they would say, oh, man, he's a faggot and all this stuff. I said, dude, have you seen some of the women, and I have been around, because I know it from the gate what kind of women we was rolling with. We didn't have no money, wasn't no stars. So I know once my man got the star stuff, I seen the women he was hanging out with. I was there. So I was going, dude, even if he was gay, he's kicking your butt, but he's not. So there you go. I answer your question. But that kind of stuff would become up all the time. The Mike and his Prince gay thing, especially when he was, had his album covers with the shirt open and laying in the albums naked and stuff like that. They didn't understand rock and roll. That was just black rock and roll, folks. And if they stole that from us anyway. So all Prince was doing was bringing it back to its origin. So I was going like, yo, don't hate, man, because most dudes ain't secure enough about themselves. One thing that I did love about my cousin, he wasn't afraid to be him. And I learned to always be me, too, because that's in our family. He was just being him. We were straight artists, man, period. We didn't care what anybody thought. But, I had to straighten them cats out about it. I said, man, Prince and Mike ain't even – but I said, Prince loved Mike. I said, don't get it twisted. And they were shocked. What do you mean he loved Mike? I said, man, Prince used to tell me – I used to tell Prince he wore Mike out, and Prince would yell at me and argue with me that Mike is killing him. I go, no. You were killing – man, some dude just sent me something the other day about did I think that 1999 – was better than Off the Wall. I said, man, come on. Don't insult me by asking that. Man, 1999 rap, nothing against Mike and him. I said, yo, not even close.
Oh, my man, Chazz, we're about to get into
it. Not even close.
When he's right, he's right.
Well, I'm gonna keep it respectful. Go on now. Go
I'm with you, Chazz. All right, I'm with you.
I'm just going by talent. I'm just going by for real talent. And I said, oh man, the albums and other people we work with, it ain't even close. It don't even put the fashion on it.
For sure.
And my man was hanging around with Versace.
For sure.
He wasn't going and saying, Versace, could you make me some clothes? He was going to hang out with the boy and said, Versace said, let me dress you. And I knew it. He was rolling like that in the 80s and 90s. So I'm going like, man, shut that down. Not that Mike couldn't, but Mike wasn't flamboyant like Prince was, man. Mike was trying to hang out with the king's daughter and all that. Oh man, Prince was like,
they was both kings. They both on such a high level. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like it is no reason to even pit those brothers against each other. You know what I mean?
That's really what I'm alluding to was that why are we always trying to put somebody in a different era where they're up in this era with who's the baddest, who's better than Dr. J or Michael Jordan? I said, man, when I was growing up, it was Dr. J for me when he was in the ABA. I was tripping. I had never and George Gervin on the Iceman, I was like, man, please, Jamal Wilkes, the Lakers, the real Lakers. Oh man, come on. That's my era. People try to put this new cats in with the era with them guys, and I'm going like, man, it ain't even fair. The same with, I grew up with loving track, and when I seen John Carlos and Tommy Smith, me and Prince loved track. When they threw the fist up at the Olympics, man, me and Prince looked at each other and was like, okay, swear to God, you can't pit the generations that were before you. All you can do is respect it. Right. So I always respect that came before us, music-wise and everything. Nothing against Mike, because when they were the Jackson 5, man, nobody was touching them. And then even when they did their the tour, the last tour, when they was all together,
Victory,
the Triumph tour, the Victory tour. That's it, man. They could not be touched. That tour, Prince was like, he was loving that. But, of course, later on, Prince surpassed all that. But I'm just saying, that's what Mike was like.
Talk to us about, and you mentioned it earlier, but from your perspective, Prince sort of meeting or getting around I won't say idols, but his inspiration. So, like you said, he met Shaka early, Sly, Carlos, and then of course, later on, him and Larry Graham really connect up. But can you put that in perspective to us to what that really meant?
Let me just kick a story on you about the Larry Graham thing. When Prince and I were kids, we got taken to we weren't supposed to go to this Sly and the Family Stone concert. They had an outdoor concert here in Minneapolis in 1973. Prince and I, some the white kids, they bum rushed the fence and tore it down. We didn't have no money for no tickets. Me and Prince slipped in. We get up to the front of the stage, and this is documented. We get up to the stage, and Larry Graham and Sly's right over us. And me and Prince looked at each other and said, man, we're going to do this for a living. Swear to God. We were just totally, and then to have Larry and Prince, I just, when you talk about him later on dealing with Larry, I already knew when Prince started working with Larry, I said, man, our childhood dream. My man just got it. He's standing with Larry was standing over us. And that was Sly standing over us with, snorting cocaine on stage. And we're standing there looking at it. We don't even know what cocaine is, but we're sitting there going, we want to be them. We do. Their band was so kick-ass. We was like, oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
I mean, that really could put that sort of, but again, I asked that because it really kind of puts in context to meet somebody like that you, like you say, really fashion certain things after or really admire, and then to actually meet them later in life when you have lived some of your life experiences, and a person like that could come into your life, and I guess you be open to have somebody actually speaking, again, take it how you will, speaking some real wisdom to you in a sense that you need possibly, and that you already respect that person anyway, and that they can get at you on that level. It had to be very a deep thing for Prince.
Oh, man. I mean, all I can do is say it died. And I don't know if what people believe in what God or whatever. It don't matter to me. That goes to show you. That's the only thing I can say is that I was happy that Prince got a chance to do some of the things that he had a charmed life after that. To me, I was going like, this is stuff he's supposed to get to do, and I loved watching it. We loved him living that dream. And that made us also go that we could, because I ended up meeting some famous people. I met Billy Preston. Billy Preston was at my sister's church one Sunday. My sister said, Billy Preston's at our church. And I didn't want to go in no church. I wasn't down with that. And I said, oh, who's coming? She said, Billy. I said, I'll be there. I come and see Billy Preston. He noticed me. I noticed him. I walk up. I sat down and played the drums behind him. He was playing the organ. He killed. The whole freaking congregation was going nuts. I said, I'm sitting there with a dude that played with the Beatles. So that was one of my idols, because we played in Grand Central. We played Where You Go Around in Circles by Billy Preston in an instrumental called Out of Space. Mm-hmm. So when I got a chance to see him, that was kind of my way of going. And then I got a picture of it. Wow. And I still have that picture to this day. I got that picture. And then I got a chance to meet Betty Shabazz, Malcolm X's wife.
Wow.
And she signed my Malcolm X book. I got it to this day. She signed all 3 of my Malcolm X books I had. And they remained good friends with the family to this day. I invited them to come to Prince's memorial, and they came. Of course, the mom passed, but the sisters, the daughters of Malcolm, Quabila and them, they're good friends of mine.
Wow. And
I didn't meet them because of Prince or nothing. Quabila happened to be in the same apartment building I was in when she was going through that trial they had here. They had a thing where they were trying to say she was trying to set up Minister Farrakhan or something like that. There was some kind of, you could probably Google it and find out that whole thing. Well, her mother came up, and I'd helped her move. I didn't even know it was her at first. But somebody through the neighborhood, people were going, hey, man, that's QB, that's Malcolm X's daughter. I was like, get out of here. And they're going like, nah, man. And they knew I was Prince's cousin, so they introduced us. And I figured we had some similar kind of ways we had to roll, being that we have these people in our families. So I introduced myself to her. We got off well. My wife and I, we helped her move, watched her back for her, and all of a sudden one day, during the trial, a knock on the door came, and I looked through my peephole, And I'd just been outside playing basketball. I was all sweaty and nasty. I looked through the peephole, and there's Dr. Chazz right there, Miss Betty, and Kobila looked, and she's going, knocking on the door, and I said, yes. And she goes, boy, open the door. Because I was just flabbergasted. I was going, I ain't dressed properly yet. Can you give me 5 minutes so I can go in and wash up? She said, boy, open this door. So I open up the door. This one woman comes in with this energy of Malcolm. I couldn't. Now, see, me and Prince, we used to love when Malcolm messed with his kids. Period. What he stood for, the bravery, all of that. You could hear it in Prince's music reflected. If you can't hear it in the beginning, you sure hear it at the end. He never left that. He never left any of that if he was deep into his cuts, because that's where Prince spoke from. So whatever was going on in the outside, that was the party. But the inside stuff, that's what Prince was about, moving our people. So when I got a chance to meet Betty Shabazz, I was flabbergasted. And she was so kind and cool, and my wife was pregnant with our second child. Her name is Mars. She blessed our daughter, took pictures with me and the kids, and I kept them to this day. And that was in, it was 25 years ago.
Wow. Man. Amazing. Also.
And when go ahead.
Well, no, I don't want to cut you off. Go ahead, man.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, like I said, during the memorial, she reached out to me. Asiata, her other sister, all of them reached out to me when Prince passed to send their condolences, and they said, is there anything we can do? Because they are friends with the Jacksons. So they kind of had the same information about what happened to Mike. That wasn't cool. They was picking it to keeping it 100 with me, going, are you sure everything's okay? Blah, 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 if you know what I'm saying.
Right.
So I wasn't alone in my thinking of what was going on. So they came in town, and they wanted to make sure, they brought some lawyers with them, and they wanted to make sure that if they could help in any way while Prince's estate was going on, they didn't want my family to be ripped off in any kind of way. So they did that for me on their own coin, man. Didn't charge me nothing.
That's major right there, what you just said right there. That's
big time, man.
Yeah, that's
big time.
That's the type of stuff, man. I heard something else about something like that with Prince, whereas other people who was just like, yo, we're just doing this because it's the right thing to do. We respect the family. You can keep that out the news or dude, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah.
That's why I'm getting calls. I'm getting calls from people that say, your cousin, one of his former band members called me up and said, your cousin, I got to give you some information. Your cousin, the reason why I'm doing this, she said, I was broke. And she said she wasn't even working with Prince anymore. She called him up and he dropped 50 grand in her account. That's the kind of love I was getting from people calling me up to saying what things he did for them. And they were telling me things that were tying in things that I knew were going on too, which they're not talking to everybody, but people were calling and talking to me and showing me love because the way Prince showed love to them. And so I'm honored to be doing the stuff I'm doing. That's why I just don't have any fear. I'm careful on certain things because I don't want to reveal too much. And I always go like, some of the brothers from the nation were going like, yo, man, you watch your back. And I said, because they said the minister, he doesn't eat unless his food is checked. He don't let just anybody make his food. And they told me one of the security used to work with Prince, and they said Prince had reached out to them. And the brother was trying to indicate to me that maybe Prince was being poisoned. He said, I don't know for sure, but he said the minister won't let anybody touch. Everything is checked completely because he knows somebody would want to do something to him. So they were kind of letting me know that maybe you need to watch yourself because you're out here with the Justice for Cuz thing. And he kept that between me and him. And I said, okay, I got you. I said, but I got myself covered. I ain't worried about it. I said, I know people are listening and all this crazy stuff, but I said, I'm not worried about it. I feel like this is what my duty is. And I talked to a lot of people that were worried about what was going on with the Prince situation. And I asked their opinion. These are some big time people. And they said, man, you're the only one that can talk for him because ain't nobody else talking. And you care about his legacy. He said, man, Smith, go on ahead and do your thing. So I feel obligated, man, and honored to do this at the same time. I feel like I'm doing what other people would do is there anything I can do, Chazz, to help with the Justice for Cuz? That's what I'm getting.
Right.
Every day from all over the world, my brother. Man, I spoke at this conference they had via video over in Manchester, England.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And they had Des Dickerson. They had a whole bunch of the Prince luminaries that people usually see.
Mm-hmm.
When they see my face come up on the screen, people were tripping with the questions, talking about it. What was he like as a kid? Was he funny? They were asking me, is he really like Dracula where he stays up all night? And they just loved me talking to them. They were going, so they're having that same kind of thing here in April at the University of Minnesota. I'm going to the opening of that. I'm a consultant on the board. I'm going to the opening of that this Friday. But my wife and I want to invite you guys to come to the University of Minnesota when Prince is getting the award, the honorary doctorate in music.
Wow.
So that's what my wife asked me. She goes like, yeah, reach out to them guys and see if they want to come, and I'll set it up so you can come and check it out because it's going to be huge, man. He should have got it to me before, but nonetheless.
Yeah, for sure.
They're honoring him. My daughter's in her last year there anyway. She's about to graduate. So my second to the oldest daughter is so it's just apropos that she would be, I got a student there, a kid of mine is there, and they reached out to her and said they didn't know she was family. And when they found out she was family, they were going like, well, can you, we're trying to get a hold of your family to find out if if people can be here. So they made a whole big deal out of it. I'll send you I have my wife send the information to you guys. Now, I'm sorry, I'm kind of like all over the place.
No. You're good. And you did send me some things about that. But you also told me this too, which is interesting. You was like, too, that's some of the things that they should be celebrating my man when he was here too as well.
Thank you.
Right? For as much as he did for that town and city, state.
Especially for our town. I'm very, we would walk in libraries, my wife, and she would call me up and go, there's no Prince books in this library. And I go, what? Because I've bought about 20 books that are Prince books that I've gotten that are out. Mm-hmm. I'm in some of them. So I made sure that I got the ones I was in. It was like 15, 20. And I said, well, there's got to be, you mean they don't have no books in the library about this brother? No, not a street or anything. I said, at least at Paisley Park, when you come over the bridge, you used to see home of Prince. Nothing. All you do is, if people are flabbergasted when they come and they see Paisley Park looks like this industrial, little set aside off the highway, and they're like, that's what it is. Even though the studio's dope and everything, but it's still like, could you cheer? In fact, that Prince was here. I always thought it was like he was very underappreciated until he passed away, which, Prince and I know that people seem to celebrate more when you're gone rather than celebrate your life when you're here. I think Beyonce's mother said it at the Grammys on the year Prince passed. She made that statement about you should appreciate these, like Dick Gregory. I mean, I've been into Dick Gregory since the 60s, since he wrote the book Nigger. And to see people just now getting into him, I love it that they was into him, but I was like, wow, you should have loved this brother just on the strength of he was just doing what he was doing. I mean, we had our valuable assets like that, and there's tons of them. I can't name them all. There's so many that should be Dr. Cress Welsing. There's so many people that I just go like, wow, you mean half the people don't even know who they are, and they celebrate the flowers afterwards and stuff. But one of Prince's artists, I just read the other day. You've heard the song "Diamonds and Pearls," right?
Yes, about Rosie. Mm-hmm.
Yes, that just. Mm-hmm. People were calling me up going, man, did you know Rose? I said, man, that's typical. It's typical. It should not happen, but it's typical. That's what Justice for Cuz is all about. That's part of it. It's not just the whole thing of what happened to him. It's like money, all kinds of stuff that was taken from my cousin. Oh yeah, there were some thieves in the temple.
Excuse me. I don't want to jump in here. Did something happen with Rosie that I'm not aware of?
Oh, you don't know that she's homeless?
No.
And had been walking the streets with no home, and somebody found her in a shelter a couple days ago.
No, I didn't know that.
It was either a couple days. Oh man, she's been living just like that for years.
Yeah, she's been going through it for a while.
They're doing a GoFundMe page. Yeah, man, and I'm talking about Prince has sampled her voice and had her on so many tracks that people probably don't even know that that's her. She's huge, man. She's a great, incredible talent, like Aretha Franklin voice. I mean, Prince, I was told at one point, said her voice, when she sings, she runs out of tape. That means the line she sings, she can hold it till the tape runs out. I was like, damn. Oh, shoot. She was the bomb, man. She was the bomb. I mean, still is. I'm hoping she still got that gift that God gave her. Because we all know that's a gift.
Right.
But she had a very unique voice, and you can hear it it cuts through Prince's voice in the music. And there was some of Prince's band members told me that sometimes Prince was like, damn, she's just killing it. I don't even want to sing. I said, oh, that's a compliment. That's a compliment, too, because Prince don't ever compliment you. If he says your stuff is, that's why I was surprised that he even thought about anybody else. Because sometimes he didn't let you know. He just give you that look. That look that everybody thinks he's famous for. But I've seen that look when we was kids. Like, if I messed up on the drums, he'd look at me like that. I felt like I let him down for so. I was like, damn, why do I feel like that? But it's like, whoa, you get it in check, homie. I was like, oh. Yeah.
Wow. Let me ask you a couple other questions and we'll wrap it up. But I want to get your perspective because you're family. Some of the big milestones of Prince. First one, I would say, Purple Rain, the movie and everything when all that drops. How did you see that? Like, that's a huge accomplishment at that time. Like, how did you see it?
It was even more because I was there. Because see, they were looking for extras. And so the extras were supposed to be down at First Avenue at 3 o'clock in the morning. And so we just would go. Some of my friends, we just go down there. And one of the dudes, Jelly Bean Johnson, him and Jerry Hubbard, Jerry was playing in the time because he took Terry Lewis's place. They see me standing outside. They said, hey, man, that's Prince's cousin. That's Chazz Smith, man. Let that brother in. And they said, you want to come in, man? I said, of course, let me in. I walk in. I'm in the movie stuff. Then Prince just left word. When Chazz Smith comes here, he gets in. So I went down there all through the shooting. So, I was impacted from that. I was going to get my hair done going down there. And I would tell people, they were going like, oh, man, what is it like being in the movie, going down there and checking it out? I mean, I watched them sit there and do the scenes that were when he was on stage where they had stand-ins. Some of the stand-ins were friends that I had grew up with that just happened to be the same size as Prince, which is really hard to do because he's 5'2". But I knew my friend Marcus Hayes, he's sitting there going, I said, what are you doing here? He's going like, yo, man, I'm a stand-in for your cousin. I'm going like, what? And he's grinning ear to ear, happy as he can be. And I said, okay. I watched him he stands in so they can get a good camera angle at, and that was enough for him. So yeah, it impacted this whole community, especially black folk. We was like loving this. This is one of our own doing it. It. It was crazy. And in the family, we couldn't shut us up. I mean, to really be honest, when Prince first got his first album came out in 1978, For You, we were at Schinder's magazine shop. They sell magazines, their Billboard magazine and so on. I'm just trying to color a scenario. Prince goes in there to get some magazines. I stand outside. 2 girls recognize him already. They run across the street, come to me, and they go, was that Prince? And I couldn't wait to tell them. That's what has been my feeling, what I'm trying to say, since day one, because he made it. Beyond the movie and everything, just the first album, I'm standing there, and these girls are going, can we meet him? And Prince comes out, and Prince was mortified. He did not want the attention. And I just turned around and looked at him and said, man, I'm proud of you. You're my cousin. He goes he pulled me aside and said, man, don't ever do that again, man. He says, man, I can't have these fans on me like that. And I said, man, I couldn't help myself. And I love telling people that he was my cousin. I mean, there'd be people that would be playing Prince music out of their car. And I had a fan message me, and said, do you remember me? I was sitting in the car, and you had pulled up, and this person remembered that I had pulled up. This was like 20 years ago. I pulled up on this person and said, oh, man, that's my cousin Prince that you got in your ride. And they looked at me and said, what? And I had the For You track. I took the risk. I said, yo, man, he's gonna be the bomb. Dude remembered me that he said, I remember you. Do you remember me? He said, you told me Prince was gonna be the bomb. You gave me the tape. And then you beat me in basketball. He said, are you that Chazz that I'm that? And I said, yep, that's me, man. I said, I remember the incident. So that kind of stuff was happening to me. I couldn't wait to tell somebody about the movie. Are you kidding me? I was going, man, I was telling everybody we could find, even though Prince was going like, I'll keep it under wraps and everything. I was going like, nah, man, people need to know about you. I didn't care. I was in a restaurant. I said, man, y'all got to see Purple Rain when it comes out. When Prince's first album came out, I was walking around with a shirt it had on it, have you ever heard of Prince? And that was it. That's all it had on the shirt with the Warner Brothers emblem on the back of it, the label. And so I would go down to the beach on purpose. And people would automatically go, who's Prince? And then I got a chance to tell them. I say, it's my cousin, man, he just did his first album. They had ran an ad in the page. They did a whole page on Prince, front page in our entertainment section here in our local paper. So people heard the name, but had not heard the music. So then I went to the radio stations and started calling. We would call them or go to the radio station, and I would drive these guys crazy, jazz stations or whatever, and tell them to play For You. And the dude remembered me. His name was Carl Bernard. He remembered me. After Prince passed, he reached out to me. He said, man, do you remember driving me crazy? Calling the radio station. I said, yeah, I do. I do remember, dude. Like I said, me and Prince used to listen to the station religiously because they played jazz fusion. And we, besides liking the stuff we liked, we really were into Stanley Clarke, Al Di Meola, Chick Corea, and of course some of the fantastic drummers that were out there. Was like, Billy Cobham, these supreme music. We were really checking that out, and this dude played that on the station. So I said, let's call him up and bug him to play For You. And he would go, I don't know who these kids are that keep calling me up and told me to play this damn record, but I'm going to play it. And he could not stop playing it after that. So he wanted to tell me he had been hooked from that moment on. So I'd like to think that I turned a lot of folks on to him wherever I went. I mean, I'm out in Los Angeles when the album with Kiss comes out, and there's a billboard of Prince out in L.A., and I'm getting away from Minneapolis so I can get away from all this Minneapolis music stuff just to get a break. As soon as we get on Sunset Boulevard, on the billboard, it's Prince and Kiss. I said, oh, my God, I can't get away from it. Or I go to New York and people go like, they say, I hear them talking about Prince and stuff, and they go, I said, well, I know him. And they go like, you know him? I go like, yeah. And then I tell them the rest of it, they go like, oh, man, I'd be sitting there for hours talking to folks.
Wow. I love that, man. I love you.
It was a big deal, man.
Proud of your cousin. That's how you're supposed to.
Oh, man, that's why when people say, were you jealous or you, I said, you guys, don't forget this. I feel like I'm blessed. Like you can't believe. Who would get to sit with a genius and learn from him and have him sit there and you get to groove with him and figure out songs. I mean, that's like, people are looking at me like, you're the luckiest dude. I know. I'm not mad. It don't even matter to me what happened to all of it. I'm mad about him being gone, but I ain't mad about what happened with our music stuff, whether I was in it for 1 minute or wasn't in it for a minute or whatever. Or I seen him last week, 2 months, 3 years, 15, whatever. It still was all gravy to me. I can't even tell you. I felt like, man, dude, God, you just blessed me. You may have lost my mother at 7. My dad raised my sister and I by himself. And I'm in this family because of my dad.
Wow.
My dad is our family, and I'm blessed. Completely. And I, like I said, the only sad thing is that he's not here because I thought he would outlive all of us.
Do you, I mean, the narrative is that he was using drugs, take away pain and all that. I mean, as y'all was growing up though, were y'all like messing around, smoking or any type of drugs or something, or was y'all just against that?
I'll keep it 100. I'll keep it 100 with you. Some of us experimented with marijuana sometimes back in the day. I ain't gonna name people, but Prince didn't do any of that. As a matter of fact, he used to mess with me and Andre. He would go to the head shop where they'd also have albums and stuff. And he'd say he'd be going to pick up some albums, and he would get some cigarette papers and put them in there. And we'd look at him and go like, yo, man, where'd you get them from? And he'd look at him, he said, they ain't for me, they're for you guys. He was trying to see if we'd go like, if we take them or not. He was testing us to see if we were smoking. So we go in, Andre would go like, nah, man. We go like, nah, man, we don't want none of that, man. But like I said, all musicians experiment, and they're lying if they say they don't. But Prince did not. He was 100,000,000% against anything or everything. And he used to look at me and go like, he said, man, he said, people that smoke that stuff, man, people can sneak up on them and do shit to them. And I was like, that's exactly how I put it. And he go, I ain't never doing that. So I learned from him. I was like, oh, then I'm not doing it. So I was trying not to embarrass him and me get caught up in stuff where they said, oh, Chazz Smith caught up in a cocaine ring and he's Prince's cousin. Look at that. I didn't want to embarrass him. Every said, oh, he's got caught with marijuana bags. So he's locked up. I didn't want to have any of that stuff to shame him at any point. And I have to say, not only my own trust of keeping myself together in my own faith, but just the fact that I didn't want to set any bad light in his way, because people like to, come after you when your family member falls or if anything happens. And especially on Prince's level, I was very careful. I was like, nah, man, I ain't doing that. And I didn't want people around me doing it. And I didn't actually want to be in a band of people that were doing drugs, because I learned from Prince that not only is the audience all stupid when they're all drugged up, they ain't listening to your groove, they're all off of something else. It's better when you can catch it while you're straight, because you get more information. It's just pure. So even when the rehearsals were like that, the musicians are competent. Because you had to be competent to play with Prince. I don't care if he was like when we were 7, all the way till the day he passed. You had to be competent. That's why it's kind of hard to believe that this man had to be on something. He was there to saying he was on something. Those kind of narcotics and stuff, whether it's for pain or anything, I can't see him doing the shows he was doing. And believe me, his shows every single time. I don't care if he was standing up, sitting down, whatever. Blew you completely away, because I was looking to see if let me see if he's slipping a little bit. Because with age, you might slip. That's all I was looking for. Oh, he's getting older. Maybe we can catch him. Maybe we got a chance to get great, because Prince slows down a little bit. Nope, dude was fired. Just forget it. So I hope to answer your question.
Yeah, no.
Others may have experimented, but Prince would not touch a thing. And then he didn't want people in his group like that. Even though people snuck off and did stuff behind his back, he would tell me he knew they was getting high. He said, man, they think I'm stupid. And it's some well-known people.
Yeah, we ain't gonna put them on blast. We ain't gonna put them on blast.
No, I ain't gonna do that, but they know who they are. They know who they are.
Well, man, there's so much information in this. But before we get out of here, Mr. Smith, man, let us know. Let us know what the fans need to do to help put the push on the justice for Cuzz. Because like I said in the beginning, we can be all hyped up for the tributes and the museum tours and all the new album and the music and all that, but we got to have that same type of energy for some justice. So what can the fans
Absolutely.
do?
Well, what the fans can do is just, a lot of them are impatient, and I find that strange, because justice wheels are slow. They grind slowly. And what I was told by the detectives and stuff that I had spoken to is that I had lunch with these cats. I sat down and they told me some of the guys where you could tell they had been on the scene and had seen Prince's body. One of the guys, the sheriff, carried Prince's body. And he was you could tell this man had such care and compassion and towards me. And the fact you could tell the way he handled the thing with Prince, he sat down and told me straight to my face, they bought me lunch, that they thought that there was some weird stuff going on. They got some inconsistencies, and that they were working on tying up everything, trying to find out who, what, where, and how. Because there were no cameras in Paisley Park, and there usually is. I was told they were removed. When all I needed the fans do was to keep that focus and that heat. Even if it's just like, it doesn't make you wonder why Warner Brothers ain't even screaming and hollering too. I just want everybody, there's a couple fans that are even hollering at them. I just want it all to come out. I want all the people because they should be, Warner Brothers should also be in that fold too, of wanting some clarity about what happened to Prince as well. I'm just tired of everybody celebrating and stuff, and they need to keep that focus on, in particular, the fact that we lose all our black artists like this. This can't go on, and it cannot continue, because we've lost too many. I don't know if we can fill the hole of losing Prince and Mike, Whitney, Stevie, Billy Paul. I mean, there's so many. not Stevie Wonder, but I was going to say Billy Paul and Maurice White. I mean, there's just so many, but the ones in particular I'm speaking of, even back to Jimi Hendrix, you know, who we were rock and roll. That was our rock right there. So he left out of here mysteriously. So I want the light to stay on these folks so they'll go like, oh, his family has moved on from the heirs have been picked out. Let's all know that's, you know, I have a tendency to go back to sleep. You know how these people are. I'm making sure they stay woke. Keep that third eye open and keep asking for the truth. Keep asking and demand the truth out of the people that are not talking. So, and I see a lot of the fans doing that. They're banging on some of the people that they think ain't cool. And I go like, I hope they'll break one day. But I'm going by what the sheriff is telling me. He said soon, very soon, and they was thinking before January that they was going to have the whole thing wrapped up because, like I said, they were checking people's phones, calls, because you know, and checking out websites, Twitter page. They're checking out everything that was communicated that day and other days. So that takes a long time. They had to send that information out to California and have their, you know, their agents come out, you know, and work on all that stuff because, you know, a lot of that stuff is cryptic and you couldn't find out anything. But they're slowly but surely pulling things together because they said they will have a press conference when they get it all together. They're going to call me and they're going to have me come out there and I'm going to stand with them. Because a lot of people are sitting there going, oh, man, Charles, you crazy, man. Why are you doing that? You know, hey, you'll see. And I told him I'll be happy to be there that day. I don't want all the light and all that junk, but I said, I guess if you call me on that, because I said I got some people I want to just go look at them and go like, see, I told you. I told you.
All right.
Should have been down with a brother.
There you have that. Where can they find you online, Chazz, to connect with you? Any websites or anything?
My wife does all that for me. I can, because I'm not into that. I'm not into I feel like that's a real no-no is to be sitting up on the internet in any kind of sense. Actually, the phones or anything. So,
okay.
My wife can, you know, she can send you that information.
Yeah.
And then you can, if you like, you can then distribute it. That would be cool. But I don't want to like throw it out there on the,
I respect that. I feel you for sure.
But I will give it to you, and you can you know do it like that. But I'm not gonna put that out there like that.
No doubt. But we'll keep the hashtag going, Justice for Cuz, for sure. You know, keep the word out.
Yes, sir. Because let's hope we find out what we need to find out, and then the rightful people can be put in the places that they need to be put for doing that, for neglecting the brother in any kind of way. I feel like it was just whatever anybody could say is like huge neglect and stuff. A man that did that much for everybody and, you know, and moved the way he moved. I mean, you're so blessed to have been around this cat, man. I mean, it's not every day you see a genius, let alone get to work with him.
That's what's up. Ladies and gentlemen, please leave us your comments on this. Share this. I'm asking all of the Prince family and friends and fans out there, share this one out to the community. You know what I'm saying? We love to hear your thoughts one way or the other. This is a conversation that we got to have. Again, it's a conversation that's just as important as the conversation on song rights and all that other stuff we talk about. What's your favorite color and all that? We got to have this conversation too. And you know what we can always...
I say too that I appreciate,
go ahead.
I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you brothers and my man Sexy that came in late, man. Thanks, man, for your questions, man.
Get at him.
You know, I feel like you got a lot more to ask and stuff too, man. I wish we could have got to chop it up a little more, but I really appreciate the opportunity to speak. And I know it was crazy because I just am all over the place because I lived this. So it's kind of hard sometimes to it ain't easy for me to talk about it. I know it might seem like that, but it's really not. It probably will bother me forever. I just don't think I'll ever get over it. But it's really cool to talk about it. It kind of gives me therapy to express what I know, because I really never talked about it when he was here. Not like out to the public or anything like that. I never said these stories, and people go, you should do a book. But like I said, I just want to say I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you brothers, because y'all seem like you're some good brothers, and you're going to put this in the right light.
Oh, and it's our honor, man. And we appreciate you sharing, the whole thing about this particular podcast and maybe others is that we just here to give you a platform and a voice, because again, we're fans. We got a lot of love for that. So for you to share that with us, this is home. You know what I'm saying? Like, this ain't no gotcha type of place. We just want to hear the real from people who was there. So we appreciate you coming and sharing with us, because without people like you, all we're going to do is just speculate.
Well, I figure too, if we don't do this may happen to someone else.
For sure.
Exactly.
This may go unnoticed, because people think rich people and people that are famous got it going on all the time, and it's not like that. It's not like that.
Yeah. See, now you make me think, and I will just keep going if we're going, but I always ask the question too, and I think I saw this somewhere, like Prince always was a performer. Like, he always performed. The show was always, the way he carried himself when he was in public, he always performed no matter how many people was there. But I always wonder too about, was it that a part of why he couldn't be honest about, and again, whatever was going on with him, to be like, it always had to be hidden, because it was always a presentation of strength and a presentation that everything was okay, even if it wasn't okay.
In my opinion,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I say all this. I say all that because as men, as women too, but as people that are older and have people that depend on us sometimes. Let me frame this in a way. I don't care how this sounds. I know a lot of times.
Just break it down.
Yeah, sometimes as black men, we don't deal with our health, right? And we don't deal with how that may affect our kids or our kinfolk or the people who we're supposed to leave inheritance to. So when we get in this, sometimes we get in these situations where we're not really taking care of ourselves because we're proud, we're not going to show weakness.
Certainly.
You know what I'm saying? So I almost, sometimes I just be like, man, I wish there's a certain part of Prince that I don't understand because I haven't lived that life. But when I see him, and I be like, I love what he represents, because, and I'm going to go long. When I even look at this new book that my brother Afshin just came out, beautiful book of Prince, the pictures and stuff. And I was like, man, this brother, he stayed on point. Like, you never was slipping. Never was slipping. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was just walking down the street, tight, sharp.
He made it so you didn't think you couldn't slip.
Exactly. But my thing is, I say about that is, there are certain times as an outsider, I know he must have been going through some stuff.
Oh yeah.
There was things that happened that I was like, that's a tragic event. But you never saw him affected by those things, or even.
Well, you seem to not affect him, but from what I've read in Alex Hahn's book,
that
just recently came out.
Yes.
What I've read in there is that there was all kinds of stuff that I didn't know. Like I was telling you at the beginning of this whole thing when I first talked to you, was that I learned a lot about my cousin I did not know. And going back to your part about us as men being proud, especially black men, grown ass men. We have a tendency to kind of, and it would, to me, it just would be impossible to be on Prince's level and be able to do what he was doing. But at the same time, he was extraordinary. Mm-hmm. And for sure. People are saying that we're there. And I've heard from people that have, they claim stuff. I mean, I used to hear stuff and I'd go like, oh, nah, man, there ain't no way, dude was like that. But I know he had to be in great pain. I don't know if he got no one's ever told me if he got the hip surgery or not. I've never, so that would clarify some things to me too. But at the same time, he was very private he didn't want any of. That's why I always never really wanted to say anything about anything, because I knew that if he wanted to say it, or when it's cool to talk, then we could talk. But I don't know what the brother he had to, and losing his child. What would that be like? Losing 2 kids, divorces. You know what it does to a regular person. But then you see Prince get up and do a concert and blow your mind. You go like, dang.
Yeah, let me stop this for 1 second. I don't hate to interrupt you, but I'm going to do this if you don't mind. We're going to cut this show right here. But this conversation that we're about to have, we may have here, this is going to be not going out to the mass public. This is going to stick. This will stick with our core. Our Patreon. I'll explain it to you, but it's only people like 50 or something people. That's the real fans of the show. This is not a public conversation. So, because I want to say a few things in this one, and I don't have time to be answering people's sort of ignorant questions or miscommunications of what they think we're saying. So I don't want to deal with that. You understand what I'm saying? So
I don't blame you.
Let me cut that right here.